And I'm back with another interview, and it's been ages since I've done interviews. This time with Lauren Brooks, who I wanted to talk. It is Lauren Brooks, right?
Yes, it is.
Okay, awesome. I wanted to talk to her for a long, long time. I've been listening to a lot of the Thursday show on Honey Badger Radio with Hannah. I definitely try to catch it live if I can, but I always have to listen after the fact. It's always a lot of fun to hear everything going. It's probably one of my favorites of that show. So. Well, first off, before we dive into our big subjects, how have you been?
I've been great. I've kind of been dealing with this cough. So for the first time in probably about at least 5 or 6 years, I got a
Hmm.
cold.
Okay.
And but this one just seems to be lingering a little bit. So if you hear me coughing, that would be why. But I've had this cough for probably about the better part of 6 weeks now.
Okay. Yeah.
And it's getting better, I can tell, but it's still annoying. Outside of that, I can't really complain. Who would care anyway?
Right. Exactly. Yep. All right. Why are we talking today? Stay-at-home moms. Let's take it away. Let's just jump right into it. So we've been talking about stay-at-home moms a lot because there's a bit of a sensitivity, a little bit of complaints that there's a their mothers' emotional labors are being really triggered.
They would stop being so triggered, and it wouldn't be so much labor if they could just put down their goddamn emotions.
Hmm. Right.
And this is something that I've noticed with this conversation in general. And I think it's just when talking to women, they can't separate themselves from the subject at hand. You know what I mean? They
Hmm.
cannot look at anything objectively. It's just all they take everything personally. It's like you say something about a single mother or a stay-at-home mother. It's like, well, I like that. Well, good for you, lady,
Yeah.
but that's not what we're talking about.
Exactly.
So it's kind of hard to have the real conversation with these people because they're just emotional.
Right.
So it I'm finding it a little bit frustrating in that sense because Pearl's been speaking out about it. Paul's been retweeting. The conversation is live, and I'm
Yep.
so glad that it is because it needs to happen.
Exactly.
Um, but then you get these people that just they won't address the argument.
Hmm.
It's completely ad hominem, and
Sure.
I guess it's good so that you can point out who's who
Hmm.
really wants to have the conversation and who's only there to score points, I guess you could say. But
Well, all this started because somebody, probably Paul, said that stay-at-home motherhood is not, uh, in my words, high magnitude compared to the all kinds of work that men do in this world, be it physical labor to mind work. It's all higher level stuff compared to what is supposed to be shared work at the home, right? Because fathers put in their ideally at least put in their bit of work into parenting. It's not father just slacks off and in the parenthood at all. It's quite the contrary here.
mhm.
Women and men share in this thing, but the women are now coming out saying that it is this exalted, holy kind of profession.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the problem when you make a woman a mother. She now thinks that she is everyone's mother.
Hmm.
And because she has this child, she just has this supreme knowledge. And, how dare you try to tell her anything?
Hmm.
And it's just so, so wrong.
Right. Yeah.
I
No.
mean, but that's how women are.
It's supposed to be this thing that's so hard, only women can do it, of course, because
Yeah.
yeah, because they believe in all the media hype about fathers being bumblers and such. They can do nothing right at the house, even though they do a lot of housework anyway. That's the real world here, but the stereotype is that they're just slackers, and work outside the home is just playtime. Apparently, it's just them just money just kind of comes to them like magnets.
Exactly. And do you notice that fathers were never bumbling idiots until advertisers found out that they could use that to sell product?
Hmm.
It was never
Exactly.
the case before.
Right. Yeah.
And now, now it's just like the mainstream narrative. But you bring that up to like the Michael Floods of the world, and they'll say, "Oh, there's no negative stereotype about men. They control the whole industry. How could there ever be any negative messages about men?"
Well, I heard that show back when I was on my walk. I heard that live. And it's this the word this dominance. I think is the word that was used, right? Just men
Yeah.
are this dominant. They had this dominant position and so forth. So more blaming men on this thing. How do we approach the subject of stay-at-home moms? Is it basically that, okay, so they do something, but we're just trying to say they're they're not one of the greatest, the most important ever of the professions. Uh,
Mhm.
but how do we approach this so that these people understand?
Well, see, that's the thing. I mean, you can't get blood from a stone, right?
Hmm.
I think a lot of these women are just so, like I said, they're so emotional about it because, it's, I understand. Well, I guess I understand. I don't have kids. I'm never going to have kids.
Hmm.
So I don't understand that bond between mother and child. But I do understand the intensity of the connection, right?
Hmm.
But that doesn't necessarily mean that it's the most important thing well, maybe for that woman, it's probably the most important thing that she'll ever do with her life. And maybe it should be that way, you know? We keep telling women that you can have it all. You can go to work and be the boss. You can have the kids and have this great family and this great husband when it's just not the case, it's not that it's not attainable. It's just very, very difficult, and it would take a person of incredible amount of strength to do it, right? You hear these stay-at-home moms complain because, oh, the child cries too much. Oh, I don't know. Well, what did you think you were getting into?
Right.
And I don't know if there's any way to actually reach these women. And I don't know if why should we?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If they are so dead set in this opinion that I'm worth more than whatever the man brings to this relationship, then go live your best life. You know what I mean? You're gonna find out in the hard way that it's just not the grass is not greener on the other side.
Exactly.
And you have to stop um, just being so dismissive of what your husband is supposed to bring to the table. And that's really what this is. I, I don't remember ever time when we exalted mothers like
This
this,
much.
like we're
Yeah.
doing right now.
Right.
And it's just getting exponentially worse.
Yeah, even yes, even the less obnoxious of the traditional conservative type women kind of go on about how motherhood is the most important job ever on the planet. Even if they're not trying to be particularly mean-spirited about it, it's just like there's still this kind of okay, so uh, all the work a man's done kind of trash compared to motherhood, right? It's like they're implying that by accident, but and of course they'll get sensitive if you point out the mistake because it is going to be a mistake, but they don't want to be wrong here.
Yes.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's really what you're having to deal with at the end of all of these arguments is if
Hmm.
you want to get these women in line, if you want to get them to understand anything, you're going to have to first get through to them that maybe some of the things that they did are wrong. Maybe your ideas are wrong. And maybe let's not even say wrong. Maybe they're just misplaced. Maybe you don't have a full understanding of what the scope of the entire situation is. You're looking at it from your one point of view, and that's not the way to handle anything. You cannot fix a problem if you're only looking at one thing. You have to look at the entire situation. Otherwise, you're going to have the same problems or different problems, and it's never going to be fixed.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know. I don't know if there's a way to get through to these women. And like I said, either the idea will breed itself out because women are not going to stop having babies. You know what I mean?
That's true.
I think the only thing that's going to happen is there will be less men marrying. Well, they're not even marrying them now.
Yeah.
You know, women are not requiring marriage before they have children. Um, so I think single motherhood is by far outpacing the stay at home mothers, because that's assuming that you have someone that's going to actually marry you and live in your same household and subsidize your
Yeah.
living like that. You know what I mean? There's very few people, or I don't want to say very few, but the women who are stay at home mothers who are on the welfare system, they're lifers. You know what I mean? They
Yeah.
are never getting out of the system. They
Hmm.
may stay at home, but guess what? They're getting their rent subsidized, they're getting food stamps, they're getting all of this assistance from the government, yet they'll turn around and say that I'm doing it by myself. I'm an independent woman. Come on.
Yeah. Right.
Come
Yeah.
on.
Yeah. Exactly. All right. So, and another point of contention around, I call it X Twitter because it's X as in formerly and X,
Or
yeah.
right.
So X Twitter. So on X Twitter, another point of contention again by our good friend Paul, is that women should work. They should not have the choice to be a parasite. You know,
Absolutely.
that's another simple, sensible thing to say, and people freak out about it.
Right.
Hmm.
And why? I mean, I don't get it. So when I was born, my brother and I are 6 years apart.
Hmm.
So when I was born, my mom basically had to start all over again because my brother was off in school now,
Hmm.
and then now she had this new baby. So what she did, instead of going straight back to work, which it's difficult when you have a newborn, totally understandable. What she did was, instead of just sitting around and saying, well, I'm taking care of this one baby, she babysat for other working moms in the area. So not only was she doing the household chores for her children, she also took on the responsibilities of other women's children when they were out
Mm.
being a wage slave for the government. um, and yeah, it's not I don't know if I would consider that work. Yes, it is work because there's more than one child. There's a lot going on. You have to have your head on the swivel all of the time, but still, all it takes is someone being attentive and caring. And that's why I think, like, men are naturally that way. So it comes easier for them. You know what I mean? Women, when I can, again, I can only talk for myself,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
but I can imagine having a child. And if I had a child who was colicky or just frustrated and couldn't express themselves, it would drive me mad because the only thing you're thinking of is, how do I fix this? How do I get this child to stop? What does this child need? And the child can't verbalize that,
Hmm.
so the mother internalizes all of those feelings. And of course it seems like such a huge major thing for her, where as I think a dad might step in and be like, all right, well, sometimes you just have to let them cry.
Hmm.
They'll be all right.
Right.
Rub some dirt on it, they'll be fine.
Exactly.
But
Yeah.
it's the helicopter parenting, I think, is it began with mothers,
I suppose so.
stay at home mothers who have nothing else to do,
Yeah.
and God bless them. Listen, I almost prefer that to the mothers who just don't care about their children and let them run wild.
Hmm.
And
Oh
there's
yeah.
way too much of that going on.
Sure.
So again, tell me, if you're a stay-at-home mother or a single mother, how good of a job are you doing if your child is out in the streets every night committing crimes, or what I mean, like
Yeah.
doing nothing positive with his life? But I'm a single mother. I'm a stay-at-home mom. Just because you had a child doesn't put a crown on your head, lady.
Exactly. Yep. Now, one thing that I've noticed, use of is the term wage slave. It's very interesting because there's some others that use the term. It's a very Marxist term,
Mhm.
yeah. And I noticed that conservative women use this as a counter against women working. They have a better thing to do than be a wage slave. So there's two things you can get from that. First is that they're unironically using Marxist terminology, and the second, they're okay with the men being a wage slave. They're okay with the men being a slave, as long as it's in service to them. So,
Right.
so I'm not fond of the conservative women in this situation for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's just it doesn't matter what side of the aisle you're on. Someone is going to find something to be upset about with it.
Hmm.
Again, instead of actually being objective about
Yeah.
what's being asked, everyone just get hyper excited about it. And I understand, you know what I mean? But at
Hmm.
the same time, it's like you got to slow down. Just because someone's asking a question doesn't mean that they're talking about you directly.
Right. The generalization question, like uh, speaking in general terms, is something I've heard a lot of talk about in Honey Badger Radio.
Yeah, I mean, but listen, generalizations are generally true,
Yeah. Yeah.
and the rule is if it don't apply, then you let it fly. You
Hmm.
know what I mean? And it's another thing that women can't do. I don't listen. I'm a different type of person, maybe. I don't know, but I don't care what somebody calls me. You want to call me a bitch or whatever you want to call me, the N word. I don't care what you think about me. I know who I am. Okay, my sense of self worth comes from within, not from what your opinion is about me. Women, that is the antithesis of how women operate. You know what I mean? They are so motivated by what other people think. Am I doing the right thing? Does this selfie look good?
Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot of worrying about what other people think, kind of.
Mhm.
Yeah. And that's a sign of a not a good, not a strong sign of character, I think.
No,
To be
no.
that way. Narcissism is very paradoxical, I think. We say that it's just about her, but it's really very dependent on what others think. So it's not really the individualism that most people paint it to be.
Yeah.
It's the political landscape nowadays. We've had a turbulent while, haven't we? Like the past decade has been kind of crazy.
Yes, it has.
Hmm.
Interesting times. I mean, I
Yeah.
don't know if there's been a greater time to be alive, but I have no other point of reference. So,
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, so would you consider yourself libertarian or just or something along those lines?
hmm, okay. So I consider myself maybe a small L libertarian.
Yep,
I'm all about smaller government, um, and financial. I'm about I'm socially liberal, but I'm financially conservative.
I understand.
Okay.
Okay, yeah,
Um, so while I don't agree that men can become women and vice versa, if that's the way you want to live your life, perfectly fine. I just don't want to have to pay for it.
right,
And not only that, but I don't want to have to be forced to view you as what you think you are. I
exactly.
don't live in your made up world. So we're not going to play those games. You know what I mean? That's kind of where I stand on that.
Yeah, yeah, I understand what you're saying. It's basically kind of uh, like putting requirements to treat you a certain way. Bit of unearned respect here, like a misunderstanding of the word respect, I think.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, like so I tend to be uncomfortable when I'm suggested one way or another that I have to use certain pronouns and such. Pronouns that we're not going to use in front of this person because it's not a first person pronoun. You're talking about
Right.
this person when you're with among somebody else and not with that person. So it's pretty interesting that they care about what other people talk to you because that's what this whole thing is. It's about other people. worrying about what other people think of you.
Hmm.
Yeah. So yeah, it's just one of those things. It's like you kind of want to. It's like a paradox of wanting to be different, but you want to still be in a collective. You want that comfort
Yeah,
and security of being in a collective while claiming to be different. Being different,
exactly.
yeah, being different. You know, it takes a lot more guts to be uh, different and stand for it. You know, because oftentimes being different in any meaningful sense is pretty well thrust onto you. It's not something that you simply choose, really.
Right.
Right.
Right. I mean, look at like punk music,
Hmm.
like Johnny Rotten.
Yeah.
He does not care who likes him. He is who he is, and that's it. You're
Hmm.
not changing that man. You
Right.
know,
Hmm.
that's the difference. These women just are not like that. And I'm finding that more and more people, I don't want to just say women because a lot of men are like that because a lot of men are raised by single mothers.
Hmm.
So they adapt the behaviors and the attitudes of the people around them, which
Right.
tend to be mostly female. So, um, you won't see that just brash, I'm being myself and I don't care. It just doesn't happen. It's being different is just like you said, it's to assimilate.
Hmm.
They're looking for acceptance somewhere by trying to be as just as much of an outcast as possible, I
Hmm.
guess. I don't
Yeah.
know, and
So,
that's
sort of.
probably a
It's
bad way of framing it.
well, and
I don't.
I understand what you're trying to say. It's like being like a instead of just being an outcast because of some kind of conviction that you're just standing by, you just want to join the counter collective, the counter
Right.
collective outcast. It's like the conformity of anti-conformity is kind of another way
Yes.
I've kind of heard it put. And I mean,
Yeah.
I'm fairly well anti-conformist basically. I'm old. I'm pretty ultra individualistic, but it's a matter of getting by and combining not caring what unimportant people think, but still making a connection with the world while not changing anything about yourself in any conformist kind of a way. I don't know if that made any sense, but
No,
yeah,
it
yeah.
did, and that takes conviction.
Mhm.
That takes conviction. You have to be convinced of who you are. You have to stand firmly in your beliefs to be able to do that. And that's why a lot of women just fall short because
Yeah.
they can't.
Right. Yeah. Well, one thing I've been struggling uh, is that whether they can't or they just won't. Because can't kind of
Mm,
involves more deep kind of a implication here. If they physically can't, then why are we giving them equal consideration as individuals, kind of a thing? And I don't know if I want to go that far by any stretch of the imagination, because I think
mhm,
if we treat women like actual individuals, which includes holding them accountable. By the way, it's they're to blame for their own problems. They're responsible for their own failures and everything.
mhm.
And but if you say that you can't do it, then we're kind of back into this like then we got to do the
Giving
treat.
them,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
you're turning them back into the victims that they claim to be. It's yes, you
exactly. Yeah.
can. They
Hmm.
can. They absolutely
Hmm.
can. They just don't have the wherewithal to do it.
Right. Yeah.
Some of them, not all of them.
Sure.
There will be some, but
Hmm.
I'm telling you, it's rare when that happens.
Yeah.
To turn like that, to change your whole thought process, something major has to happen, and really profound in your life for you to really stop and take stock of yourself as an individual, and what you're doing and the choices that you're making with your life.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. It's
Women
kind of
aren't.
yeah.
Women are not signing up for that.
Right. Yeah.
they,
Yeah.
they are convinced that they're convinced that their worth is
Hmm.
right,
Yeah.
and you've got to live up to it. They will. I can't talk about it enough, but like they just will not take
Right, yeah. And
it.
yeah, but one thing I think about a lot is the question of, is this n normal? Is this meant to be? Is it meant to be this rare? Or is it actually meant to be uh, men and women about the same level, or at least those high levels of accountability? This, I don't know, I'm, call me an idealist, but this is the way it should be. You know?
Yeah, no, I think that's the way it used to be.
Okay.
Um, we've just gotten so far away from that because we've told women that, hey, you deserve it all for just existing,
Hmm.
you know? And the standards for men have never changed. They've only gotten more strict. They've only gotten more burdened with the responsibilities of taking taking responsibility for what women fail to live up to,
Hmm.
you know? It wasn't always like this. And I think another problem or something else that made it happen was the internet and social media. You know what I mean? When women can reach out for that dopamine hit, you
Hmm.
know, when they get that attention from somewhere else, they never have to stop and look inward. When you can get your sisters and your cousins and everybody backing you up and say, "Oh, girl, you right? No, no, you you don't have to do anything. You don't have to change. There's nothing wrong with what you're doing."
Right. And any deviation from that means an article about how women are more harassed on the internet.
Exactly. Exactly.
Hmm.
Even when it's women doing most of the harassment, you know,
Yeah, right.
no accountability whatsoever.
Exactly. Yeah, to be sure. Yeah. It's also why I've got really mixed thoughts about the women's vote. So I'll start off by saying that, I understand the whole, women's vote got us these increased government regulations, and in terms of volitional things, I think they're right. It's just I just don't think that it's so inevitable that it could not have been any other way. Like I see, like one example I enjoy bringing up, and this is not the first time I brought this up, was Milton Friedman explaining on the Donahue show. The Donahue show used to be about, have a lot of women in the audience, right? And
Hmm.
he talked about men having gone to war, and then the women who remained voted in prohibition.
Hmm.
Yeah. So, and he just said, that it's not, it's a pure statement of historical fact, but he got a lot of like shocked expressions from the female audience. How dare he say that?
So I'm pretty much on the repeal the 19th side of things.
Hmm.
I agree with you. I think eventually
Hmm.
we would have gotten there.
Uh-huh.
Um, had cooler heads prevailed, it probably would have been tied to something more stringent like property rights
Hmm.
or, you know, the amount of tax that you pay
Sure.
per year or whatever. Um, because, you know, at the time that women got the vote, there were still black men that didn't, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I just, the whole hullabaloo surrounding women's suffrage was just, it was a travesty. I don't agree with it. There were women whose voices were silenced because they didn't agree with it. It's just like what happens now when there's a feminist agenda and there's enough people behind it. It doesn't matter if there's opposition or not. It's just going to get pushed through. Um, Now, I'm going to say that
Mhm.
if I would happily give up my vote today if it means that women like Cardi B, like just name any of these ridiculous mumble rap chicks out here, sexy red. Okay, if we can take their votes away, you can have mine. Good.
Yeah. No, yeah.
women have women have enough influence over the men in their life,
Hmm.
right? If they're the only ones that are going to be making the votes, they have enough influential power over the men in their lives, which is how they got the vote in the first place. But you
Exactly.
know, that's
Yeah.
neither here nor there. um, there are enough gynocentric men still left in this world who will just kowtow to a woman no matter what the situation is. And it's sad, even if it goes against their own best self-interest, men will vote for what women want.
Right.
So I don't know. I mean, taking it away, is it really going to change much?
Yeah, that's probably like the best argument I've heard for repeal the 19th that I've heard. Basically, I still have my positions, but I think the real thing that makes an impact is men needs to stop being gynocentric.
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah. So, and I generally tend to be with Hannah Wallen and Peter Wright on this particular issue. I don't think gynocentrism is so inevitable and natural and biologically hardwired than some others say.
Hmm.
And I'm pretty hard line on this position, being an individualist, because I think this is about maximum accountability in my mind. So,
Absolutely. And I would totally agree.
yeah. But whether repeal the 19th is right or not, this thing, Pearl's having fun with it, making
Yeah.
merchants. Yeah, yeah. So yeah, honestly, like I was worried about her at first, but she's talking to people in the men's movement, which is
Hmm.
something that I don't see Chloe Rama doing. I don't really see the other people like Sydney Watson doing. Maybe some did, but they kind of tapered off and turned their backs on them. Uh, but yeah, Pearl, I'm liking what she's doing. It's like she's introducing uh, the problems about the problem that is gynocentrism, and it's actually
Hmm.
where in a world where people just kind of cower at talking about it by name.
Yeah, and I got to tell you, she's got some big brass balls, man. It's just
Yeah.
going.
Mhm.
She is going for it. You know, I hang around the manosphere spaces a lot, and
Mhm.
after she did that interview with Nick Fuentes, I thought that her goose was cooked.
Mhm.
You know, I just, because they were just so mad at her. You know, it didn't matter what she was actually saying. Um, she's white, she's wrong, she's racist. That's what the takeaway was from it, you
Mhm.
know. But she didn't let that stop her. I gotta give her kudos. She's still standing 10 toes down in everything that she says, and she's going for it with gusto. Um, and that's why that's what's so disappointing about um, the Lauren Southers and the Lauren Chens and the
Yeah.
Sydney Watsons, you know, because
Mhm.
they also seem to have that great potential and buzz around them. You know, they absolutely had a place to have. They could have been in this space having this conversation, but I wonder what it was that made them say, no, this is not worth it. Or I'm gonna stick with my gynocentric women are all good roots, you know, and
Mhm.
these men, well, they may have a point, but I don't like the way they said that.
Yeah.
It's sad in a way. It's kind of expected in another way. You know, none of these women were ever my actual, like, I didn't look up to them.
Right.
I liked what they were doing and saying at the time, but you know, if you've been around the internet for long enough, you should know that you have to give things time. You have to give these
Yeah.
people time because eventually they will show their true colors. You know,
Exactly. Yeah.
there was a tweet that Peter Wright put out,
Mhm.
and he said something about like not not intersectional attractive, but like the two scale attractiveness level. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
if
Yeah.
a
He
woman
used
is
it.
attractive, and
Mhm.
then her, yeah, and then so he listed three women and said what their average
Yeah.
attractiveness would be,
Uh-huh.
and then someone responded to that and said, "Well, they're all influencers, so it's a 0 out of 10." And I was like, "Yeah, I kind of agree with that. I kind of agree with that." I mean, these here they're putting themselves out here
Mhm.
to be consumed. They want their ideas consumed. They want the followers. They want the clicks. They want
Hmm.
the ad revenue from all of that.
Right.
Um, but are they really in it? Are you really here for it?
Yeah,
Or are you just
that's
here to gain what you can from it? That's what makes them grifters.
yeah, exactly. It's like, you know, I don't run ads on my channel. Um, I have a tiny little subscribe star, but that it only has like two followers on it. But I'm not trying to, I'm really trying to get some fresh messages of what we're trying to say here, and
Hmm.
so I'm not beholden to this kind of stuff. So you know, most people would kind of have this problem of toe the line, or because you're beholden to our money for your grift, and go out of line, and then you're going to collapse. But not these women. Like they know something stable when they see it. I think they know they have that constant influx of attention and money. Like it's like you know they know that uh, they don't have to apply themselves to any kind of shade they're throwing. If that made any sense, like it's kind of going off my head here. Yeah,
Nope, it does.
yeah, hmm yeah, right.
And
Yeah.
no, go ahead.
No, no, no. I had nothing else.
Okay, yeah. So there's one in particular who her shtick seems to be going after content creators and
Hmm.
trying to like break them down, exposing them, I guess you want to say.
Okay.
And I just find it interesting that these types of people, they will call Pearl a grifter for saying the things that she's saying. Oh, she just wants male attention. She's just a grifter. Meanwhile, you're making YouTube videos calling her a grifter. You're making money off of her grift. So you're a grifter too. I mean, it's the griftception. You know
Hmm.
what I mean? It's Women are so catty. It's disgusting. And that's why like I never, I don't have a YouTube channel outside of just signing up for YouTube. I don't put content out there. I'm not the focus of this conversation.
Hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This is something, men's rights is something that I believe in wholeheartedly. I'm
Yep.
I'm not out here trying to get clicks and eyeballs and come see me, come pay me, come here's my cash app.
Yeah.
No, because the message is more important than all of that.
Yep.
So that's why you'll probably never see me with a YouTube channel. I'm more than happy to contribute to the people who do. I love Honey Badger Radio. I
Hmm.
love everyone over there. I think we do great work.
Hmm.
I love A Voice for Men. I love Paul Elam. I think he does great work, and God, it's just such a privilege to be around these people, to be around these like-minded people, because I'm telling you, it's hard to find anyone that you can really just sit down and have a conversation with anymore, because there are so many topics that are just controversial, and people just seem to be more divided now than ever. Um,
Right.
and it's kind of like a duality, because you'll find people that agree with you, and it's like just a magnet. It's like, oh my God, I didn't think that there were other people that I wouldn't think that you felt this way.
Hmm.
But then there's the opposite of that, where it's like, you don't agree with me. Well, now I'm going to come take you down. I'm going to destroy your life. I'm going to go dig up everything I can find on you on the
Hmm.
internet. And I'm going to make a 30-hour-long minute video describe me, explaining why you're just a pick me. You're just looking for male attention.
Hmm.
Meanwhile, you've got half your chest out.
Hmm.
And I know you know who I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that I'm not gonna look. I'm gonna look.
Hmm.
But that type of attention will only get you so far if what your message is falls flat.
Exactly.
So, good luck to those people, but I just don't really see any point in trying to take other people down. That's not what this is about. This is about having the conversation about where we are, men and women, how we're supposed to move forward in this society, okay? Because we have a very screwed up family court system.
Hmm.
It's just insane what women are allowed to get away with, okay?
Yeah.
And the number of men who don't stand up for themselves, who don't even recognize that it's happening to them.
Yeah.
That's the scary thing. You know what I
Hmm.
mean?
Yeah.
We've got a lot of guys who are waking up, and every day I see it. I'm seeing more new accounts, and it's like, wow, okay, great. That's awesome. We got more people to reach. We have more people to reach. We can't be worried about this stupid, petty backbiting and oh well, Pearl's ugly. She's almost 30 and she doesn't have a husband. Well, where's yours at, bitch?
Hmm.
It's the mudslinging is just it's too much for me. I can't deal with it.
Right.
Because I could go there.
Hmm.
I'll go there, but you really won't like me when I go there.
Right.
you know?
Hmm.
How about you just sit back and take them L's, let the adults have the conversation at the table.
Right. Now, one thing I've noticed, trying to remember where exactly I was going with this. Um, yeah. I mean, they keep on saying, but they're trying to destroy the family. Just because we're trying to uh, talk about the family court situation, right? Like not opting out of marriage being and I'm a married person myself, and I wouldn't recommend anyone actually get married, to be
Mm-mm,
sure, yeah. Considering the legal situation, it
mm-mm.
doesn't take much to recognize it and say that it needs to be fixed before we can get around to actually going back to the importance of family and so forth. But
You got to have something to lose before you can recognize the value of what it is
hmm.
that you have.
Right,
Oh,
yeah,
but no, I definitely would not. I would probably just veering off into tangents, but I would
of
not
course.
recommend marriage to anyone.
Hmm.
Um, it just why would you need to get the government involved? Once you get
Exactly.
the government involved, they're never getting out of your life.
Yeah,
It's just the
yeah,
way it is.
yeah. I mean, that's a good enough explanation for why one shouldn't just if they're going to get married, just that making it such a big deal, pouring that so much money, getting on your knees and stuff like that. I hate that crap.
That's all of that romantic
Hmm.
chivalry that Paul's been talking about lately, which
Hmm.
is a new invention,
It is,
and
yeah.
women don't understand that. You know
Hmm.
what I mean? They think that that's what it always was. They think that the Neanderthal was, ooh, 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 you rock, ooh, you.
Exactly.
I don't understand. I don't understand it. You know what I mean? They
Hmm.
talk about the 1950s as if it was the fucking Pliocene era. You know what I mean? They do not understand that these things were not always this way.
No, they
You
weren't.
are they are so just coddled, and they are so entitled. They've been given everything and they appreciate nothing.
Hmm.
I just there's no hope for them,
Right.
but now they're even rejecting marriage. Just look at how they don't listen to what they say. Look at how they operate. Women will not say, "Oh, I want a husband first,"
Hmm.
but they'll pop out as kid. Oh, jeez,
Well,
sorry.
it's okay.
They'll pop out his kid before they take his ring.
Hmm. Hmm.
Just the devaluing of the home and of family starts with women. It
Exactly.
begins and ends with women.
Yeah.
They'll say, "Oh, it's the man that leaves. Oh, the husband left." Well, why did he leave?
Hmm.
Uh oh. uh-oh, you might have a part to play in that. Uh-oh, can't
Yep.
say that.
Yep. Yeah, man. At this point, I don't really. I meet the accusation of deadbeat dad with extreme skepticism at this point. I don't know if it's something that they were just a jackass, so they just walked out, and stuff like that. I don't think. I'm not. I refuse to take that for granted at this point. It's like there's got to
Yeah,
be something
no,
else.
I agree. I don't, and I'll stand here and say it. Men don't leave their children, they leave a shitty relationship.
Hmm.
So calling them a deadbeat dad just because they don't want to deal with your mouth anymore, it doesn't, it falls short.
Hmm.
Okay. Um, all right, maybe they're not helping you pay the bills, but I'm gonna cut that shit short right here because I don't want to hear women talk about what men don't do when they're put into a position that they didn't want in the first place. Some of them, not all of
Right.
them, but I guarantee you there's a lot of men who would say, no, I didn't want this kid, or I never wanted this kid, or
Hmm.
I should have thought about it,
Right.
but they don't have, that choice is not theirs. It's the woman that decides whether or not she has the child. Now, I would say to men that yes, you need to watch where you put your seed. That's a million blank checks that
Hmm.
you release every time you orgasm.
Yep.
Why would you why would you just be reckless with that?
Hmm.
That's your life. That's the rest of your life. Or at least a very good part of it,
Yeah.
And women have the ability to just completely ruin men. And I think far too many of them are just willing to like sheep to the slaughter
Hmm.
because and I think a part of that is just because they want a relationship, they want that connection. You know what I mean? And then they turn around and they shame the men who can't form relationships, can't get a sexual partnership through no fault of their own, other than the fact that they're just non-select. Okay, they're
Hmm.
not the best looking, they may not be the tallest, they may not make the most money in the world, so women won't touch them with a 10-foot pole. They
Right.
will then look at them and use that against them as if it's something that they chose.
Right.
The amount of cruelty, like the level of cruelty that women display towards men is
Mm.
astounding. Um, and I'm really concerned that there's not more men who won't stand up for themselves. But that's the society that we live in. Thank you, single mothers, for teaching your sons to grow up to be spineless bastards
Hmm.
and not, not stand up for themselves because this is where we are. And should we ever find ourselves, and I think it's very imminent if we're not already here, should we ever find ourselves in the middle of another world war? I think we're heading there, unfortunately. Um, what is this country going to do if we're full of we're well, who knows? Who knows what they're going to draft? I think Biden just said that trans women are now they're mandated to be selected in the draft. So good luck good
Hmm.
luck trying to use that get out of jail free card. That's
Hmm.
not going to work.
Right. Yep.
um,
Hmm.
yeah, how many fighting age males do we have in this country that are you don't have to be willing to if there's a draft you're just going
Yeah.
right um but it didn't used to be this way. I know for a fact that China is looking at us and licking their lips. We're like pigs to the slaughter.
I understand. Yeah.
And I just don't know if there's enough time to turn the ship around.
Hmm.
I mean, we've got another year of this administration, um, and nothing good is coming of it at all. Whoever thought that there would be anything coming from this administration? But here we are. Thankfully, there's only so much time left to go, and then hopefully there will be a shift back to normalcy.
Yeah. Or shipped back to
Um,
sanity anyway. Yeah.
yeah, or somewhere in the region,
Hmm.
because we have gone so far off the plantation. It is. Oh my God! Why did I say plantation? Now, oh, it's racist. Yes, I did vote for Trump, and
Hmm.
I will again. I'm very excited to do so again. I hope he beats all of these charges. This Letitia James in New York,
Yeah.
she's got to go.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, we need a return to normalcy, or at least to start heading back in that direction.
Yeah.
Um, but I don't know. I'm of two minds because I think the globalists have got a stronghold on this society.
Hmm.
And the more time that uh, this administration has in office, I just the more time that they have to get away with shenanigans.
Hmm.
I don't know. I'm
Right.
I'm in a little bit of despair, but I kind of do have a little bit of hope. I'm just glad that I myself don't have children because I could not put them through this. Number one, I'm not getting. I would never put that Fauci jab in my child.
Right. Yeah.
I, you would have to throw me in jail.
Hmm.
I'm sorry,
Right.
not doing it. But the way and somebody said it, and I forgot who said it. Um, when you have a child, that child then belongs to the state.
In effect. Yeah.
It's just the way it is.
Hmm.
So there's a lot going wrong with this country, and
Hmm.
I mean, not only this country.
Well, yeah.
Geez, I mean, look at Canada, look at England.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, it's hard to hold out hope, but I mean, if that's all you have, that's all you have.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I mean, the last election, I did vote for Trump, but he didn't. He had it robbed from him, right? I'm actually
Hmm.
see, I have this weird superstitious thing. If I vote, he's not going to win. The guy who I vote is not going to win. The only
Yeah.
reason Trump got into office is because I didn't vote that election. Because at the time, I still wasn't too sure of everyone, and I was not going to
Hmm.
vote for the Libertarian candidate, which I think was Gary Johnson at the time, because he'd
Yes.
gone too far off the message from Liberty. He was entertaining way too many left ideas, a lot of statist ideas that, no, no, I'm disappointed in you. Go away.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Joel Jorgensen did not do it for me either. She's kind of got this sort of, or she had this sort of, mama's gonna fix everything kind of thing, which is kind of like a red flag. So,
Yeah.
hmm,
Yeah.
yeah, right.
Um.
Yeah. So I'm debating whether I should vote at all in this election because I want to vote Trump, but am I going to jinx it again?
Yeah. I mean, hold on. Let's get to the point where he's actually on the ballot, right?
Well, yeah,
Because
true. Yeah.
these people are pulling out no stops.
Hmm.
They are doing everything in their power to make sure that he is just eliminated from society.
Hmm.
And I just don't know how they're his best political campaign. He
Hmm.
has to do nothing. All he has to do is sit back and let them complain.
Yeah.
You know,
Hmm.
give him all these trumped up charges. You know what I mean? Let's indict him again.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're only making more people love him, and I don't understand why they don't get that.
Right. Like, even back, way back in the day where I was not so sure about Trump, I could recognize that they brought it onto themselves.
Hmm.
Like, if I were for any reason against Trump at the time, I would still say it's these people's fault. They made him so big that he got into office. Now, of course, I kind of like I've been impressed by Trump. Like he was like towards the end of his term, he was making peace every other weekend. It seemed.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah, like I loved seeing that. Like, do we actually have our first unironic peace president? You know, and of course he was ousted. And well, I can see where the anti-war people's priorities lie. You know?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Um, and it's just being highlighted even more with the Israel-Gaza conflict.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Um, and I'll say it right now. I don't care about either. I'm not about to get myself involved in a thousands year long religious war over real estate.
That's the way I've
I'm
kind
not.
of seen this too. Yeah. I'm like, I got my share of problems with both sides, and you know, and not that I say I'm an expert on any of this situation like that. I think you guys on the show articulate well. I think it was on Brian, Hannah, and some others on their show articulated it pretty good. It's hard to believe what's coming out of there in terms of the reports, the media, and stuff like that. Things can be faked, you know.
Yeah, yeah,
And it just seems to me like we're just another manipulation program. Yeah.
absolutely.
Right. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Hmm.
I mean, if you didn't get the message from Russia, Ukraine, then you're really just it's way over your head by the time
Hmm.
Israel and Gaza comes around.
Exactly. Yeah.
We are being played.
Hmm.
And not only are we being played, people don't even realize that we're funding both sides of this thing.
Hmm. Exactly.
You know, um, and it really kind of hurts my heart because there are people who I thought were more intelligent than this, who are falling prey to the propaganda. Um, and it's just sad. It's sad. Um, so I'm friends with Roseanne Barr's son, Jake
Okay.
Petlin.
Okay. Interesting.
And well, I don't say friends, but I
Hmm.
know him. Whatever.
Hmm.
He had me on his show way back in the Gamergate days.
Okay.
um,
Hmm.
so I also know Hotep Jesus. Now
Yeah.
I talked
I,
to
I
Jake, and Jake,
I think I've heard of him, Hotep Jesus. I think. Well, I don't
yeah,
know. I don't know him. I know who he is. I think, but you know.
yeah. Um, so Jake was like, "Yeah, no, I love that guy. Yeah, no, we should totally have him on." I'm like, "Cool,"
Hmm.
because I thought that would be a perfect marriage. Roseanne and Hotep Jesus. I think that conversation would have sparked fireworks.
Hmm.
Then the whole Israel and Gaza thing happened, and all of a sudden Hotep Jesus is just a little bit too on the wrong side.
Hmm.
And so that just blew up. And now all I'm seeing from Jake is, he's just pro Israel. And it's like,
Yes.
I don't care if these people have to die. We're Jews and we're Jewish. So if you don't support the Jews, then you might as well just die. And it really boggles my mind because
Hmm.
you just had a kid. He's got a 3-year-old daughter.
Hmm.
How can you be talking about killing other people's innocent children
Yeah,
when
that's the
you
big
have one
thing.
at home by
Yeah.
yourself? It really just rubbed me the wrong way. And, not that negates everything about him. You know what I mean?
Right.
He's him and his mother, they are great people. I think they've got Roseanne is finally coming around. I'm not going to say that she's not completely still fully feminist.
Hmm.
Um, geez, back in the Gamergate before the Gamergate days, she blocked me because I was, so very anti-feminist in her
Hmm.
face. But I think she's learning and she's coming around. I just don't know if this is one hump that they're going to be able to get across because it's so personal for them. And it's so personal for so many people. So again, like I kind of get it, but I'm just if you think that killing people is the way to solve your problems, well, an eye is going to leave the whole world blind.
Yeah,
You know,
that's the big thing for me. Like, who cares if the innocent kids on whichever side, get killed in order to do it. pro this side, pro that side. I can't do it. It's
Yeah,
something I couldn't make myself do.
no, no.
Yeah.
And again, it's another reason that I'm glad I don't have children that have to grow up in this kind of world. You know, I mean, Jesus Christ, it's to the point where now you can't even express yourself. You can't even have an opinion without fear of reprisal from
Hmm.
someone who just doesn't like the cut of your jib.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's not the way that I grew up. We playground rules were still in effect.
Yeah.
If you fall down and somebody hits you, well, you have one fair shot. You hit them back.
Hmm.
You know, People are too soft. They're too sensitive. They can't be bruised. You might as well just wrap them in bubble paper, bubble tape, whatever,
Hmm.
and ship them off to Abu Dhabi.
Yeah. Well, you notice that the people who are soft are also the ones who do a lot of punching.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they have no fear.
Hmm.
They have no fear because I've got this victim status around me, and you can't penetrate
Hmm.
that kind of shield. Oh my God, because I can call the ADL and the ACLU. You're violating my civil rights because you said the wrong word.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. And
It makes me want to check out because I can't play with you. We can't play nice because I
yeah.
don't talk nice. You know what I mean? I'm gonna say bad words. I'm gonna call you a name. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
Right.
it might just be so that I can get a laugh or someone else can get a laugh. But you can't when you can't laugh at your own expense, then we're all lost.
Mm.
Then there's no room for you or anyone else on the playing field. You know what I mean? I think that's where we are.
Yeah. Exactly. To circle back a little bit. In terms of, I think it's about this whole Israel Gaza thing. What's going on with some people with the Daily Wire? Do you have any idea what's going on with Candace Owens and Shapiro?
Ooh,
I haven't really delved into that one. I just noticed it recently.
yeah. So Candace seems to be a little bit questioning of the Israel side of things,
Hmm.
and Big Ben Shapiro with his little hat is very much not trying to take any kind of criticism about
Hmm.
the Jewish people is just not going to happen. But it's what's funny is when it's the other way around and it's time to question the black community. Oh, Ben Shapiro's all for it,
Hmm.
you know. But Jesus Christ, don't you dare touch the little hats.
Right.
Don't you
Well,
dare touch those Orthodox ones.
well, I'm really confused is because why it took so long to for them to have a fight because Candace Owens not too long ago came out against MGM actually. So you'd think Ben will be freaking out about this because he's a big old defender of his tradition of cutting, baby penis.
Is he?
Well, yeah,
Now that I
yeah. Oh, you didn't know that?
that I didn't know about him, and I'm pretty, I'm intactivism is one of my number one
Yeah,
things, right? Like
exactly. Yeah,
absolutely number one
yeah,
priority when it comes
right.
to me as far as men's issues come along.
Hmm.
But I did not know that Ben was very defensive of cutting penises.
Well, yeah, yeah, he's not kind to intactivists in the slightest. He kept on talking about how uh, circumcisions, I know it's a euphemism, but circumcisions is a way to pre-commit him to their son to the Jewish faith, and he talked about how he would do that to his son, or I don't know if he did it personally, but had it done. It's just
Hmm.
grotesque kind of. And then there's Jordan Peterson kind of just like saying, well, that is a sacrifice to God, so that is good parenting, and so I'm just getting, like my tolerance for these people is plummeting here.
Waning.
Yeah, sure, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
right. And then
I, I,
not too long ago, I saw Candace Owens actually calling out the whole schematica, the like what the harvesting of foreskins
mm,
and just calling out the practice in general. I understand she did not go through that with her son if she had a son. I don't remember. It's something like that, but she basically stood against the practice. So that's why I'm saying
mhm.
I'm surprised they haven't been duking it out before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, I think the difference is that, the circumcision conversation doesn't just touch the Jewish community,
Hmm.
because I don't know what the percentage is, but there's a large percentage of American men that are cut. Um, what is it? Something like, I'm going to say 20%, if not more. That's probably way off, but it's still a disturbing number of men that
Hmm.
have been mutilated
Yep.
in this way, regardless of their faith.
Hmm.
So I think that's probably why he didn't come down on her harder than that. Um, I don't know. It's just interesting that you know Candace had no problem taking checks from the Daily Wire.
Mm. Yeah.
Like if she filled the platform, and now I don't know. Do you want sympathy from us because they did to you what they
Yeah.
do?
Hmm.
But this is not the end of her. Even if she doesn't have this job anymore, it's not the end of Candace Owens.
Yeah.
She has a big enough platform. Her name is not completely, but just almost just about a household name.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
so she's not lost out there. Now, I was skeptical of her from the beginning because of her whole involvement with the social autopsy
Isn't that
company
kind
that.
of weird site early on? Something about bullying? Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Basically, it was like, well, if someone says something bad about you, then we're going to create this record, and any employer, any job, any school that you want to go to, well, we
Yeah.
have this list of all the negative things that this person has ever said online, and this is your social autopsy. We're gonna kill you, and
Yeah.
since that she had shady beginnings from the beginning.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's not hard. It's really easy to look at her with a skeptical mindset because she just immediately went to grifting off of politics.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to say that I disagree with some of the things that she says. However, I do think that she was used as a big push by the conservative movement to try to get Black people into the conservative movement without actually addressing the issues that Black people have. And maybe,
Right.
honestly, really, telling Black people that, oh, these 13%, 13 and 55, or 13, you know what I mean? You can't keep beating Black people over the head with these statistics and think that they're just going to fall in line, because the people that you're speaking to are not the 13%.
Right.
These are not the ones that are committing the crimes, because if you're a felon, you can't vote anyway.
Hmm.
So they're speaking to the Black people who actually can vote. Um, but they don't want to hear that because that is not their life. It's not reflective of who they are. It's not reflective of the people that they know in their lives. So that message is always going to fall flat with them. They have not made any good faith um, arguments or gestures to try to win Black people over to the conservative side.
Hmm.
And that's all I'm going to say about that. You know, there are people out here like Sonny Johnson who have real world solutions, who did get to go and speak with Trump. And
Hmm.
he listened to her about school choice,
Sure.
right? So there are people who are not being highlighted who absolutely have the Black interest in mind, the Black vote in mind, but that's not who they want to go with.
Hmm.
The conservative Inc. will go with the Black people who is more than happy to denigrate black people, to justify their confirmation bias.
Hmm. Yeah, exactly. It's
So
kind of like using Democrat strategies, uh, of winning the black people over, that kind of thing, right?
exactly, exactly. So in that sense, I really don't have much love for Candace Owens. I mean, she's doing what she has to do,
Hmm.
right? I don't know. She's married now. She's got babies. Does she really have to work? But women should work, right? Women should work. So I'm not going to begrudge her for earning a paycheck at
Right.
all.
Hmm. Yeah.
That's if that's how she contributes to her household, if that's how she does work, then fine.
Yeah.
Um, I listen. There are far more stay-at-home mothers and single mothers who do less than Candace Owens does. If
Hmm.
they did an iota of the work that that woman does, they might be a benefit to society. But they don't.
Right.
They would rather sit back and be leeches off of society and the men around them that pay the taxes into their subsidies so that
Yep.
they can get through life. Um, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
that's what they do.
Hmm. Yeah. Well, I kind of wanted to touch on something else. So back in 2021, I think it was. It's been a short while. No, 2022, I think it was. Um, I basically, so my wife and I, we decided to leave St. Paul, Minnesota, right? We kind of
Mhm.
committed to the idea of getting out of there after things got a little too crazy. Like, not just COVID, but guess what happened in practically an hour walking distance from where we were?
Oh, I don't know. Kenosha?
The George Floyd riots.
Oh, George
Yeah,
Floyd. Oh,
yeah, because
God.
I'm just, I would see that whole, you know, Minnehaha liquors on fire. That's some place I once set foot in there. It's just surreal to think that, that kind of thing would happen. And so,
Yeah.
yeah, and a gas station burned in seconds of a walking distance from where I used to be. So, I got, and it was right across the street from where my wife worked. And I'm
Mm.
just kind of, I got, we got to get out of this stupid state, basically. So, yeah, yeah. So I don't know. Did you have any kind of thoughts on that one? That's because we are talking about the issues of black people and stuff like that. I felt that this was kind of like a, a, a place to kind of touch on here. Yeah. How do we
Yeah.
contextualize this?
Um, well, listen, I say get out of big cities. Just get away from big cities. Um, I'm born and raised in New York City.
Mhm.
I wouldn't go back if you paid me. Every once in a while I have to drive there, to access the airport or whatever. But I wouldn't live there if you paid me. There's no amount of money. And now for New York State, of course, the city is really blue, right? But most of the state is red. They do not agree with these policies. And I don't think that that's a dissimilar situation from pretty much every other state in the country,
Exactly.
you know? Um, it's just how it is. But it's so hard to survive if you're not living in a city unless
Hmm.
you can get by with, meager means. If you can do it, then great. But not everybody can, you know? So I don't know. That whole situation was just um disgusting on the face of it.
Hmm.
I
Yeah.
mean, I don't like to see people lose their lives. This man, for all intents and purposes, he was he was high. He was high off his mind.
Yep.
Okay.
Hmm.
Um, I am not going to sit here and say that the actions of the police department caused his untimely passing.
Right.
Um, the only thing that I would say is maybe the excitement of the situation could have added to his aggravated state, which
Hmm.
would have caused his heart to, be trying to work overtime.
Yeah.
And in a situation where you've got that much narcotics in your system, eventually it's just not going to be a good situation. But this is what we do in this country. We take these people, we turn them into martyrs, we turn the real heroes into victims, or into the perpetrators, and everybody's got the story upside down.
Hmm.
These police officers, I will only say that their job is to protect and serve. If you have not proven to me that they didn't try to help him, then I don't really know how you can explain to me how they took his life. I know what the argument is. Oh, he was on his neck. He was da 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 da.
Hmm.
But when you look at the autopsy, that's not the story that you get.
Right.
And I'm not gonna sit here and buy that whole cloth. But what happened was people took that and they used it as an excuse to just create chaos.
Well, I
You
saw
know?
it. I saw some of it. I saw people looting stores one time on a drive. Like not long, the people were hanging out of cars and everything. Yeah, I saw that when I was on a drive down somewhere because I thought it was okay, only to find that everybody was boarded up, or
Yeah.
or the ones that weren't boarded up were being looted. So,
Yeah. And there were other factors that added into that too. COVID had taken everyone and shoved them back in their homes.
hmm,
Okay, told them that you can't go out, you have to stay 6 feet away. And what do people do? They don't want to listen to rules. They want to do what they want to do. Oh, okay, oh, there's COVID. Well, whatever.
hmm,
Nobody's outside, so I'm gonna go outside. If there's a reason to be outside, I'm gonna find it. Oh my God, you mean somebody killed a black guy? Let's go.
yeah, they're
There's a
excited. They're excited that a black guy was killed. Hmm.
yes,
Yeah,
yeah. And I don't know how they don't see that any other way. I mean, how many funerals did Saint Floyd have?
exactly. Like, there's a lot of graffiti that was on or around that year, which had very confusing messages. A favorite of theirs is "I can't breathe," right? But of course, when you
Yeah,
put a bunch of hearts around the "I can't breathe," it sounds like a fetish.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It really does. And so I, as a habit, I kind of watch like police body cam videos.
Yeah.
I'm just addicted to them.
Hmm.
I love it. Uh, but the amount of times that I've heard I can't breathe
Hmm.
is just it's like it's almost the same kind of phenomenon with Jen Psaki, right? And
Yeah.
so I have Netflix. I didn't cancel it. I still watch it. Whatever, flog
Sure.
me later, fine.
I get
But
it.
it seems like every show they try to pigeonhole that term "circle back" into everything. We're gonna circle back. We're gonna circle back. We're gonna circle back. That was Jen Psaki's fucking term. Who does she know in the writing room over at Netflix, or do
Hmm.
they just all love her? Anyway, you know what I mean? It's things like that. But yeah, no. Once George Floyd hit, that was just the reason for the season,
Hmm.
and it was all hell breaks loose. With no regard to the actual facts of the case,
Hmm.
with no regard to the life and the sanctity of other people's life and way of life. And these people show you who they are by how they treat the other people who can do nothing for them.
Hmm.
You know, there are ways to get justice. They may not think that it's justice, or it may take too long for them, but that's you don't get anywhere by trying to beat the doors down,
Hmm. Yep.
because even if they have a valid point, right? Like let's say that no, it was totally the cops were wrong and they killed them. Well, why can't we just let that go through the justice system?
Yep.
Why do you have to go and then destroy all of the neighborhoods around you? What
Hmm.
point are you trying to make? Because the cops didn't do it. The cops weren't employed at that gas station, or that what was it? It was some kind of carport store that got torn down, torched, whatever.
Hmm.
Whatever business it was. That had nothing to do with them.
Right.
But what people do is they take their outrage and spread it on everyone else,
Yep.
because that's the easiest. It's the most satisfying way to just get rid of this rage, but it never really goes anywhere,
Hmm.
because you never really see a solution to what you feel the problem is. You're only going to feel more justified in every time something happens. Well, I'm going to go out and loot again. I'm going to go out
Yep.
and bust this window open. You know what I mean? You only
Yep.
feel more justified in doing so the next time.
Exactly. Yep.
we
And
we
yeah.
have we have a we have a problem with disciplining people in this country, and I don't know where it started, but I can tell you that we are way too easy on people when they jeopardize other people's lives.
Exactly.
I mean, if we were really serious about drinking and driving in this country, then there would not be a bar in existence that also had a parking lot attached to it.
I understand what you mean.
You know, so yeah.
Yeah, yeah, sure. Well, and then there's like speaking. There was not that I'm asking for riots, but there were no riots when some mentally handicapped white person got killed under similar circumstances. And because I remember reading something about that, but nobody knows about it. And so it just seems to me like so so I noticed. So let me ask you. So is Black Lives Matter a worthwhile term, or is All Lives Matter better, or what do you kind of
I mean, in my opinion, none of it matters.
right,
If your life doesn't matter to you, then why should it matter to anybody else?
right, hmm,
Again, I think this is like, instead of taking the onus and the impetus to be accountable for your own life,
hmm,
you're spreading it out amongst the crowd,
yep,
and in the hopes that they will also agree that yes, I approve that your life matters.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
You know what I mean? And
hmm,
that's not always the case. Like, I don't get it. I don't get it because I don't operate that way.
hmm, right,
I'm very much an individual, just like yourself. Like, I understand what you're trying to say with the Black Lives Matter, but
hmm,
how can you tell me that Black Lives Matter when there are 10 million Black babies killed every day through abortion?
exactly, exactly, yep,
Which is it?
hmm,
You know what I
right,
mean?
yep,
So what
yep,
lives is it that matter to you?
hmm, yep. Yeah, I'm not fond of the race baiting, I'm not fond
Eh,
of the collectivization, the tribalization of race. We're
No,
mostly back to square one when it comes to that particular form of collectivism if we keep doing this. So,
absolutely. And
yeah.
I do find that is still happening.
Oh yeah.
Like in the Black manosphere spaces, there's Black channels that I hang out in and whatever.
Sure. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
my mother's white, my father's Black.
Okay.
So according to some of these people, well, I'm not Black.
Mm,
I shouldn't have any opinion, right? I should just keep my mouth shut, right? Even if I'm on your side, I should still keep my mouth shut because my mother doesn't look like you. It's so stupid.
mhm.
It makes no sense. This is why I just hate the whole conversation about race to begin with and
Me
to
too.
end with. We could be so much further along in society if
Yeah.
we could just treat people as individuals.
Right. Yeah, because that's something I've been trying to fight my as long as I can remember. Basically, kind of establishing myself as an individual, as opposed to my own mixed heritage and such. You know, like
Yeah.
because I'm Japanese on my mother's side, but I'm a U.S. citizen born abroad. My father's Caucasian and such. So uh, when it comes to like going from Pacific over to the West and stuff like that, there's a lot of how do I put it, like a disconnect in the immediate culture, uh, except the other way around. Over there, I'm just this white foreign guy, and over here, I'm this Japanese guy. That's the way
Yeah.
it is, especially when you're a kid. It's one of those things that kind of stand out, to be sure. And I decided that I did not care to be defined in this particular way. So uh, that's that's kind of what I mean by uh, standing by yourself, and it's a difference that's thrust onto you, but you deal with it. Basically, you don't need to claim victimhood status because of those circumstances at all. It's not worth calling yourself a victim for. You may be different, yes, but uh, uh, you got to use it to your advantage in a productive way.
But do you ever get people telling you that you can't have an opinion or you can't have a say so in this certain conversation because of your mixed heritage?
I've gotten it sometimes, right? Like, it usually happens when people kind of know about it, I suppose. Like,
Hmm.
I think people dismiss me altogether because, I sometimes get called, I don't know, I don't remember what they call it, but just the fact that I'm mixed itself is kind of like a taboo. It's like I'm like in the Harry Potter world, I'm this mudblood or something like that.
You're a half breed.
Half breed. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, something of that nature. Yeah, yeah, but yeah, I mean, and I'm not terribly fond when kind of some biracial people kind of take the hafu thing kind of like way too seriously. 'Cause you know what hafu is, right?
No.
It's like a Japanese version of the word half. You're half
Waifu.
white, half. Well, it sounds like that, but a
Okay.
hafu is like you're half white or something. Maybe you're half not Japanese and half Japanese. But I don't know. They kind of try to turn it into this community, which that too I'm not interested in. You know,
Yeah.
it's like I don't much care for it.
No, it's still pointing out your immutable characteristics,
Hmm.
which is kind of the point of not wanting to deal with this in the first place.
Yeah.
You know, so they're just missing the mark. That's interesting because there's no equivalent on the half black, half white side, right? Like it's just either they think you are black or because of the one drop rule, you're not. You
Yeah.
either are or you,
Right.
there is no in between. You know,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah, because because I think because a lot of the phenotypal characteristics of black people, it's I suppose it's more obvious. But do you get the more obvious white characteristics on the black community at all? Like I know you kind of partially answered this just now, about the you're white,
um,
so yeah, go ahead.
everybody thinks I'm Spanish,
Okay.
and they do.
Hmm.
I cannot tell you, especially growing up in New York City, how many times people have come up to me, hablo inglés, hablo español. Like,
Oh,
and it sucks because I took 4 years of Spanish, so I kind of understand. So I know that like I can say it. And this is the other thing is that like I am I'm not I'm not fluent, but I speak it very well. I
hmm,
sound I can pronounce the words almost perfectly.
yeah.
Um, so it's a throw off for some people. But like so a few weeks ago, this white guy at my job,
Hmm.
hate refer anyway, so I was big boss, like the director was sitting
Mhm.
right next to me. We were sharing an office, right? And I'm, cool, whatever. So this is the first sentence that he ever said to me in his life. He comes by and he goes, uh, hablo inglés, and I'm just like, English? You think that I don't speak English? But
Hmm.
it comes from white people. It comes from black people. It comes from everybody.
Hmm.
They think that I'm something other than what I am, and
Yeah.
I mean, I guess it's okay. It's kind of cool, but at some point, it's annoying. It's like if it's a language barrier thing, then I get it.
Hmm.
You're just poking around trying to figure out what my heritage is, and it's like, what is the point of that conversation?
Yeah. Oh,
Can
I've been confused a few times for Native American actually. Um,
really?
Mostly because of this, but
I
yeah, I've gotten at least one. What is your tribe? Once. Yeah. So. Yeah, yeah.
I mean, it doesn't help when you say that you're from. What did you say? Was you were from? You were
I was born in Japan. Yep.
no. But where you live, you're like in
So
not Minneapolis,
I used to live in Minnesota. So
Minnesota.
I'm in Florida now, which has
Okay,
been my home state for before I moved to Minnesota back in the day. But
yeah.
yeah,
Aren't there a lot of Native Americans in Minnesota in that part of the area?
there might have been. Yeah, I think that's where I got some of the confusion at least once. So yeah,
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 I
yeah.
could see that.
Hmm.
I could see
Right.
that.
Yeah. Hmm. As a lot of you know, I put this material on the channel on the subscribe star and leave it there for like a day or two for the subscribers to get an early look. But subscribers can ask questions to anyone who I'm interviewing. The subscribers get top priority on questions, and I got one from one of my subscribers. It's actually Peter. He's actually subscribed to my channel. Yeah. So yeah, Peter Wright asked. I guess it'll be interesting to ask what her experiences of other women. How do they treat her when they discover she supports fairness and men's issues?
I don't interact with women. I got to tell you, I don't. So I work in a male dominated industry. I'm in my on a daily basis. I interact with maybe one other female,
Hmm.
maybe. It's mostly men, and that's the way it's been for most of my life. I grew up in this business. It's just what I know. I've always been around a majority of men. So I don't really have the chance to interact with other women outside of online. Um, in person, I don't really fare well with them. I just don't really have much in common with a lot of these women. I couldn't even imagine trying to strike up a conversation with them because they talk about the most inane bullshit that I'm just not interested in. And to be fair, it's not even just women. There are men that have really nothing to say that I'm just
Right.
not
Yeah.
interested in having conversations with about. Oh, did you see this stupid viral video?
Uh,
Or do you know what Blueface did with his baby? I just don't care about that shit. Um, I mean, as far as like the women that I've known throughout my lifetime, every single female friend that I've had eventually had kids, and then I just never spoke to them again.
uh,
Like they went off and lived their life, and good on them. But it just because I didn't have kids, I didn't have that lane of access towards female, I guess, friendship. You can't even really call it friendship. I don't believe in the sisterhood. There is
yeah.
no sisterhood.
Yeah. Cringe.
Ooh, yeah. It's hard for me to make female friends. Um, I will say that I am blessed to know some of the most amazing women that I've ever come across. Hannah, Karen, Allison. I mean, just top down, just some of the most amazing people you'll ever meet in your life. If you take to get the time to get to know them.
Mm.
Um, but I don't really find value in spending much time trying to get to know many women. I just don't. They're vapid. They have they have nothing to talk about themselves. Um, and then again, like I don't have kids, so that's just another layer of things that I can't relate to them on. And they would
Right.
never. So there was somebody put out a tweet on X Twitter,
Uh-huh. Yeah.
asking if people that don't have kids can have an opinion on parenthood,
Hmm.
and I think absolutely yes, because we're all children, right? We are all somebody's child.
Hmm.
So yes, I can absolutely have an opinion on how people raise their kids, on
Hmm.
how at least my own parents
Yeah.
thought about raising children, and I can correlate that with the comparisons that I see in society. The examples that I see out there. I can compare and contrast. I can say, oh my God, you put your child down in front of a television for 8 to 10 hours out of the day while you take naps and talk to your girlfriends and can call yourself a stay-at-home mom.
Yep. Yeah.
And it's sad. Like I mean, I wish that I don't know. I like the fact that because I don't have a huge list of friends, that there's not a lot of complexity to my life. I go out, I do what I want to do. I'm not obligated to be at a certain thing. Oh, this girlfriend's having a function at her house and she wants me to go, but I don't really want to go and I don't know what to wear. I don't have to deal with that. It's just so, my life is so streamlined.
Hmm.
I do what I want when I want with who I want.
Yep.
What else can I ask for? You
Exactly.
know, um, yeah. Now, and I'm not gonna say that I'm not missing out on having kids because listen, I'll be 45 this year,
Okay.
so I'm looking down the rest of my life, and typically what happens is women have kids, the kids grow up, the kids have kids of their own. The mom gets older, and there's typically someone there to look after her.
Hmm.
Well, I don't have that option.
Right.
You know, I have to make sure that I'm living my independent life. I
Hmm.
have to make sure that I'm completely independent until the end of my life.
Right. Because that's the thing,
And
right? It's okay to live the independent life here. It's like this is what Tradcons complained that, oh, you're a feminist. And no, no, it's not. Because the difference between that is that it's actually possible, but they just have to be so long as they're being accountable about it. And feminism
mhm,
is not about that. So yeah, sorry I cut you
no,
off. Yeah.
yeah, no, not in any way, shape, or form is feminism about accountability. And so yeah, I keep women at an arm's length distance away from me,
Hmm.
especially at work. I there's so many ways that I feel like a man,
Yeah, I understand.
especially with the way that I deal with women. I'm like, I just don't want to talk to you. I
Hmm.
don't ask me about my life because I don't care about yours. you know, there was one I was sitting there having a conversation with one of the other guys in the lunchroom and whatever. We're just joking around, talking, whatever. And I say, yeah, it was early in the day. I say, yeah, man, I just want to go back to bed. And this chick walks through. She goes, I want to go back to bed too. And, okay, wasn't talking to you. Number
Right.
one,
Hmm.
you know what I mean? They just insert themselves in ways that are so unnecessary.
Yeah, they do, in fact, do that. Yes.
I can't deal. I can't deal with them. So I probably sound like the worst misogynist of all. I can't stand women. I just can't listen to them talk. I don't want to hear what you got to say. You ain't saying nothing good. You ain't worth nothing. You don't do anything. You don't enhance anybody's lives but your own, maybe. You know, y'all need to do a better job. I don't know what it is you think you're accomplishing out here, but you're just not doing any benefit to society. And that's the real problem, because these women, not only can they vote, but they can go and get impregnated and create a whole nother mentally damaged generation to add
Yep.
to the society of already multi-generationally psychologically damaged people. It's just compounding onto itself one after the other, and we wonder why we have the society that we have. We wonder why you look at Chicago or whatever town it is, and
Mhm.
there's a bunch of teenagers in the street and they're causing a ruckus. Well, where the fuck are their parents?
Mhm. Yep.
Absent.
Yep.
But it's never
Exactly.
the parents' fault. It's never the mother's fault. But if you ask her, she's doing a great job. She's a perfect mother.
Right. Yeah. 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 Nothing that happens is her fault. She's doing her best.
Right, right. But you have to understand, but he left me. His dad was a deadbeat.
Mhm.
Um, Sounds like piss poor excuses for your
Mhm.
failures,
Right. Yeah.
you know? And again, it's like it doesn't, you would think that this would make them learn and realize and say, oh my God, maybe I shouldn't do this again. But time and time again, they repeat the process, they repeat the cycle. There's a new man, there's a new baby daddy every time. And it's just,
Yep.
why are women?
Why are women? Yeah.
It sucks. Like, I I realize that I speak about women almost in the third person
Mhm.
because I just don't relate to them. I don't understand what's going on with them. I don't know why you think that way, lady, but you're crazy. So,
Right.
yeah.
Mhm. Yeah. Well.
I ain't got many
Yeah.
female friends. I don't have many female friends, but the ones that I do, I value them
Mhm.
more than anything.
Yeah. Well, I guess in general that's a good thing, right? To not have so many friends, because the few are having the few is probably the one that matters.
Yeah,
Because yeah.
absolutely.
Mhm. Yeah.
I would agree with that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Right. Well, speaking of working women, I gotta pick up mine who is done with work. So
All right.
yeah. Um, Thanks so much for sticking around and uh, using your free time and wanting to spend time the way you want on this channel. It's been really fun.
Absolutely. And
Hmm.
yeah, no, thank you for having me. Again, I love having these conversations.
Hmm.
I love finding people that are like-minded, who are willing to hash these things out, because I think the more and more we turn around, there's less and less spaces where we can actually have these conversations. Um, because
Yeah.
women just don't want to hear it.
Hmm.
You cannot criticize them.
Yep.
But they absolutely need it. And I am fully in support of spaces where men come to just be men without the presence of women.
Yep.
I think it's so necessary. Um, I like I have a little bit of FOMO, right? Like, because I just don't identify with these females, you know what I mean? And I want to be in the places where men are expressing their true and honest feelings so I get a better understanding. You
Hmm.
know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I can have that better knowledge. Um But it's a sacred space. It's something that men need to have on their own, and I totally get it. I wish more women would, but they don't. They
Yeah, I understand.
So,
Yeah. Hmm.
things like this are very much needed. So I'm appreciative of when people are willing to speak to me, because it gives me a little bit of a glimpse into that world. Maybe not
Yeah.
glimpse, but I feel a little bit more included.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because listen, I understand the hesitation around the women in this community,
Hmm.
because everyone is not here for
Yeah.
they're not here for for their own. They're here for their own benefits, right? um so it's nice to be able to at least speak to the men in this community in a way where maybe they'll be open to hearing what a woman has to say, because again, guys, we're not all like what you see out there. um so it's nice to be able to hopefully spread some hope.
Yeah.
um you know I don't know, but this is great, and I am all about fostering more conversations. So
Yep.
cheers to you, and hopefully we can do this again soon.
I'll bid you good night, and
All right,
everybody, I hope you guys enjoyed listening to this one. I had fun. All right, talk to you later.
all right, have a good night, y'all.
Yep. Bye bye.